them. So yeah, so I'll
Sure.
just start with a brief introduction of me for the participants who might not know. But I see mostly people are there who know me. They are mostly friends and family, kind of doing a favor to attend this. So I'll give a brief introduction, right? So my name is Millie Mishra, and I run a digital marketing agency in Bangalore. We've been doing quite a lot of good work since a very short time actually, but this coronavirus pandemic, which hit us out of nowhere, and obviously the whole world along with us, not just us. So we see like a lot of business owners in our work, like everybody is struggling. There are some businesses which are completely down, like a few of my own friends and family members who have businesses, they're completely shut down, like zero. It's just the shop is shut. There are a few others who are sort of transitioning from completely offline models to online models. We have seen a lot of fitness consultants, a lot of tutors going to a completely online model. But of course, we see that they are struggling too, because this is completely new domain for them, right? So things like this, every industry is having its own challenges. So we thought of starting this sort of series where we interview founders or business owners and try to understand the unique challenges that are there within their industry. It helps quite a bit from what I understand, because this kind of community of people who are sharing the same problems makes you believe that you're not alone, and that you can get through this by sharing your learnings and how you all are coping up, right? So definitely it helps with mental health issues of business owners as well. So that is especially important for today's session, I guess. So we are just starting off. This is the first in the series, and we are here with Juhi Sharma, who is the founder and CEO of LightUp. LightUp is a social enterprise which helps people in practicing and developing emotional and social intelligence. She has done quite a lot of good work in the past 3 years. We've been watching her journey, and we are just so proud of her evolution. Uh, yeah, and Juhi, of course, has she incubated this idea of LightUp at Stanford Ignite program, which is a program by Stanford Graduate School of Business, and it is focusing on entrepreneurship and innovation. Other than that, she is also a Sahapedia UNESCO fellow, and she has given an excellent TEDx talk at TEDx Pune. Please go and watch it. It's really inspiring. Other than that, she has held she has held talks at many other important platforms, and her work has been recognized by national, international publications of quite some repute. So she's no stranger to addressing platforms, and this is another one for her. Hopefully the participants can take back something that they can use in their own lives and businesses, hopefully. With that, I'll give the mic to Juhi. And first of all, for the people who joined late, LightUp is turning 3. So it's a milestone. It's quite a milestone. So congratulations, Juhi, on that. And with that, I would just like you to maybe start with a brief introduction of LightUp. What is it that you do, and how do you do it? So if you can just help us with that.
I'll do that. So, hi everyone, I am Juhi Sharma, and I happen to be the founder of LightUp, Emotions Matter Foundation. It's a small little initiative that we are trying to build and nurture, which advocates about the need to practice emotional intelligence. How do we do that? We decode it for the underserved population. When I say underserved, I mean people who belong from low income areas. We do it. Our product is a social emotional learning workshop. We have like now we have 3 to 4 programs that we work, and we work in different target populations. Our main program is with schools, which was about to take off this year, but has put us in a very different situation due to COVID-19. We also work in high risk spaces like juvenile homes, and we are also working in the red light area, where we are trying to empower and change few lives, but end to end till like livelihood, that they can earn their own money, as well as a lot of healing that happens through our programs for them. And we also work in a urban slum called Sanjay Camp. That is where I also started my journey. And I'm sure Millie and Albert, who know me before, are also aware about that community. So we run after school programs there. And how do we do like social emotional learning is what is it's basically a process of equipping oneself with social and emotional skills that act as a coping strategy to deal with life challenges and become like lifelong learners. So even right now we all are dealing with a lot of uncertainty, and it has caused a lot of different kind of emotions, some uncomfortable, some complex, and some, there are days where we feel, oh yes, we have to be hopeful. So nobody prepared us for a situation, for a situation like a lockdown, to be at home, confined by four walls, and your only movement is from drawing room to say washroom to dining room. So it's really very, very overwhelming for all of us, and our whole personal professional life has also been hit by this. So like, even we were not taught how to manage these emotions and these situations when we were in school, those basic coping strategies. So that's what we do at Light Up, and we try to do that for children who belong from underserved population. And we use a lot of interesting alternative education mediums to do that. So it's not a very dry process, it's a lot of fun and learning. And our main vision is to inclusion of social emotional learning in programs, and every child gets an access to do this and lead a better quality life. And the end goal of it is to prevent mental health, early stage, and behavioral challenges amongst children and parents and teachers.
Wow, that's quite a bit for a lot of people. And what you've been doing, if you can maybe elaborate a bit on one of the programs that you said, one of your upcoming programs that has been hit by this by the pandemic, right? So if you can just tell me about that program a bit.
Yeah, so we've been working since 3 years, and we've been experimenting and working in a lot of different pockets, small pockets. So the idea, I think my biggest learning from Stanford Ignite was also my approach was very macro there. And one of my mentors who was present in the program told me that, Juhi, you got to go micro. And that was one thing that I really, held very tight when I was incubating Light Up. So I did end up working in a lot of different small pockets, and that helped us that to realize that it's not enough when you impact one individual class. When you're looking at SCL, or you're looking at addressing concerns like mental health and emotional well-being, it's very important that you look at like a whole school. So we ended up designing a 3-year school program where we are tapping all stakeholders. So when child you're working with the child has to go back at home and be with the parents. So the maximum time a child spends in is school or home. So it's not possible if you're not to see a credible change if you don't work with teachers and parents. So we are looking at all stakeholders, and you're looking at whole school transformation, a systematic school transformation for about 3 years. That program, to build that kind of robust curriculum and a tested curriculum, took us quite a lot of time, and we wanted to invest that kind of time because there are three sub products in it. There is a evolution program for teachers, there is a breaking barrier program for parents, there is a building emotional resilience for children. And now it's I don't know when the lockdown will open up. It had to start in April. Then we thought, okay, let's look at July, June. Maybe we would look at TOD, starting with a teacher training program. And now I don't know. I keep hearing so many different kinds of versions of news, and it's quite like really challenging, like to get settled with that. That okay, when will it start? So I think that is where I was looking at scale. That is where I was looking at our vision, like a solid vision. And now I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm hoping that it kickstarts in July. And we're looking at bringing up new solutions on how to go about it. We will definitely not drop the program.
So in order to do like a contrast thing with respect to like what has happened with your business after Corona, right? Can you just explain what was the situation before with respect to the traction you had, the operations, how they were being run, the team that you had, or any hirings that you that were in the pipeline, right? And after you realized that things are not going to go the way they had to. So after that, what are some of the things, like one of the programs obviously obviously that you mentioned a big project that you were working on, which is on
Yeah.
halt for some time, right? Other than that, what are some of the things that have been particularly
Yeah,
affected by
so
this?
I think hiring definitely has been impacted. We had plans to get finally three people on board, and the year pretty much kick-started on a very positive note. And I felt, okay, this is the year where we crack XYZ. And I'm hopeful that we will, because I mean, that's how I am as a person. But yeah, we had to hire people. There was a lot of funding that had to come. Now the entire funding situation has been quite like very, very overwhelming, because all the CSR funds are being directed to COVID. You see people donating money, it's all towards COVID relief. So I think NGOs are going to be hit really, really hard, and I don't see anybody talking about it. I don't see any government policy coming in or any government announcement coming in to address, how NGOs are going to sustain, because I'm not an NGO which provides essential. I'm not like a Feeding India, right? Or I'm not somebody who's into providing masks or something. So I'm not a daily essential NGO, but I am in the education space, and learning shouldn't also stop. But I don't see any single conversation happening around that. I've been attending webinars also to understand that situation better, and everybody's telling like, okay, yes, for 1 year it's going to be very, very difficult. You might have to freeze your new programs. You might have to freeze your new hirings. And yeah, like that is the most unsettling feeling, because you worked so hard and you've come a long way to execute something you've been working on for so many, like 3 years. 3 years is a lot, and we work in the space of behavior change. So as it is, it's a very slow process, and slow process of impact as well. And yeah, it's really, really, it's hit hard, like, but yeah, I'm keeping up, and I'm just trying to now figure out how to tweak our product, how to engage with teachers, because your action and reaction has to be very swift during such crisis times. And maybe there's one way, okay, you go down, and then the other ways you pull yourself up. In terms of team, I have a huge team, and I think, yeah, I mean, I keep talking and advocating about it also, and I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to stitch such a nice, beautiful, wonderful team. I have about 40 people now at present. We just got on board like about 5 people, recently, and the work has doubled many folds. So, and it's been difficult to not meet, and brainstorming has been very different before. We've not been able to see each other. It's also a safe space that I've created for everybody. My team is mental health inclusive. My team is LGBTQI inclusive. So, it was also a support system for them. So it's been hard for them also. It's been hard navigating, but now we are more settled in producing work. Initially, it was a bit of a challenge, because it was a challenge for all of us to just sit at home and work. So that ways, I think, yeah, we are just coping up. But yeah, hiring, we have kind of, it's kind of stuck right now, because I don't see funds rolling immediately. Also, like other grant situations and fund situations, they're taking their time, or where to invest, because I think the tech NGOs and the tech firms are going to have an upper hand, and my organization focuses on human connection and the human touch and the personal things, right? So I think the tech NGOs and tech, even industries, and I mean new businesses are definitely going to have, I mean, they'll be able to survive, I feel. But yeah, people like us are going to struggle.
Okay, but you're no stranger to that. I'm sure you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
with respect to the operations, right? You have on-ground operations in terms of workshops and programs that are going on. So, how has it transitioned? Are you still having some kind of operations on the ground, or like how was it?
So we've been doing a lot of, I divided the entire, like initially it was I had to be very intuitive with what was happening. And since I'm running an NGO, I'm also attached to few communities, right? So the first focus was definitely on the relief work, because when you work in a community, I think the trust building is such a huge part of whatever work you do in the NGO space, so that is the prime focus and will always be the prime focus, because you can't really move if you don't have your trust and relationship in place. And then they expect from you only because you've been there for them, right? So I divided the work in phases, and that would be one of my recommendations also in the last bit of this workshop and chat. So I feel yeah, so, and it was very difficult to navigate it sitting at home. I live in Noida, my community spaces are in Delhi. And initially it was really a struggle to navigate all the processes with the government, and even government was struggling. It is not easy for them also to turn around things, overnight. I mean, some time will be required, right? So we ended up navigating with a lot of partners on board, and first phase has been around relief work. I've not been able to go, and it's difficult for me to even ask my team members to go where everybody was in such a scary situation. Now we are working on the second phase, and otherwise I think we halted our work after Holi only, because when the corona virus started coming in and people started testing positive, it was mostly people who had a travel history. So considering that situation, we were very skeptical. Okay, what if we go and one of us gets tested positive? Because of the misinformation and lack of information, so we were really scared, so we had to stop our operations. But we were very quick to turn it around and make it a little digital in the initial phase only. So since we are somebody who works in mental health and emotional well-being, it was very important to check on them. So we set up an ecosystem, and like I said, we have 12 projects running right now in Delhi. And we had to, like, it was, we were lucky, not lucky, I think it was a wise decision for us to map their details when we started the project. So that was, I think, came in handy. And we reached out to all the students, we checked up on them, we sensitized them, we did a bit of awareness around COVID-19. What are the things that they need to do, what are the things that they need not do. And that was a quick turnaround. I had 4 events in process where I had to go take workshops. I had my Unbottle Up workshop coming up. All of that just been cancelled. So yeah, and we had sessions in a factory lined up, we had projects going on, and I mean, yeah, it's everything's and we has been hold, I mean, it's at a hold. So one cannot do anything about it, and it's okay, we can't really risk anybody's, and everybody has been taking proactive steps to do that.
I guess so. For NGOs, and especially the ones that are similar to yours, maybe
Non-tech.
focusing on education and human connection,
Yeah.
like you said, right? It's extremely tough to transition to a work from home or a completely work from home operations. It's unbelievable how it can be done, but it's really good to hear that you did it in phases. You kind of pipeline, you put your resources into relief work, which was of more immediate short term use, as well as sensitization and awareness amongst the communities, because that's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
something that you feel responsible for. So that brings me to one point, that as business owners, everybody feels very responsible for their team, right? In this situation, even if there is something essential that a team member has to do or go on the ground for something, we all feel very responsible. So in that situation, how do we all try to just avoid getting anyone to go out there in this environment. So if at all you have to send a team member, then how do you cope with it, or how do you kind of communicate with that team member to make sure that you both are comfortable with that decision? It's not, you don't want to take that decision, but sometimes that happens, right? You have to send in a team member on the ground. So how do you approach the whole thing?
I think a couple of things here I would want to talk about it. So when you do that, I think the one emotion that you would process is guilt. Oh my God, I have to send this person, that to do this work. And I mean, it's also to do how you deal with it. So I'll say a couple of things here. If it's really, really important that if there is a no way out, that you have to send somebody for some work, and you have no way out to not like get away from that situation, and you have to do it, you one really cannot do anything about it. So you might have to send, but I'll say absolutely, when there is an SOS call, do that, because you're risking other person's life also. Secondly, I would definitely say I've been seeing people from different organizations, or even the frontline workers. I mean, there's certain things that have to be done, right? So I'll say precautions are one thing that you have to make sure, and you have to take that sense of ownership, and you have to truly show that care. Okay, I know this is the worst case situation that we are here. Okay, I have a question, I'm going to address this. Trupti, yes. So coming back to that, I was saying you have to really ensure that you're giving that mental support also, and making sure that the person is taking all the precautions, and you make sure that the end-to-end protection, safety kit, and everything has been taken care of. If the person ends up going through, and if it's harming the relationship, then I would say that I mean, if that person has a predisposed condition and you're sending them, I think that would not be fair. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm
Yeah.
trying to create like a situation here. So you will also have to identify which person to send for that particular work. You know, somebody who's a little more fit, who's a little more, fearless. So you have to choose the right person to do that job. Secondly, make sure that there is the security, the precaution, and everything is being taken care of, so that you can avoid a situation of somebody getting testing positive and all of that. And thirdly, just be there and, in the sense that show that genuine concern, that, this is, be honest about the situation and the fact that there's no solution out, and it's something that has to be done. So I think to be honest and authentic in that whole process is very important, and not do it from like a whole business situation kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So of course, I
Yeah.
think most of the business owners that at least I know of, they have said no to even work if it involves risking people. Like they have said no to business in such hard times, when if at all it involves risking a team member going out, right? Because of course,
Yeah, you should totally avoid that situation.
yeah.
But in a worst case scenario, if it's there and there's no way out, then you have to deal with a lot more sensitivity, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And also considering the economic situation, there is a lot of people disregarding their own health might want to take up opportunities, or might not want to pass up on opportunities, right? So it's a really
Yeah.
catch-22 sort of situation for business owners as well as employees, because everybody wants to work, but it's not a comfortable, appropriate situation for us to do that, right? So
Yeah.
of course, now I'll be coming to one of the things that's your forte. So it is mental health as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, right? But don't worry, I have become sensitized enough about the topic to ask this from everybody that I'm going to be interviewing. So that's like a gift to you from me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to hear from you, like what are the steps, like as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? We are pretty much accustomed to a lot of uncertainty, to a lot of ups and downs emotionally, and we sort of become resilient to quite a lot of upheaval that goes on, right? We learn how to switch off after coming from work. We learn how to do that in the process of running a business. But something of this like magnitude happens, and most of the small businesses are not equipped to deal with like such a big thing, right? So in that situation, definitely there are a lot of emotions that are going through. First of all, like you yourself mentioned, you have worked so hard to get to where you are.
Yeah.
A lot of the past years have been struggle, and a lot of late nights, hard work, extra effort and hours by not just you, by your entire team. And to suddenly just see that kind of go away in a month or so, it's really hard for a lot of businesses. Other than that, of course, taking care of your employees, if at all you do not have the appropriate cash flow, then how do you take care of your employees or keep paying them the salaries that they deserve, as well as that you promised, when you yourself are not getting business inside, right? So how to deal with these two big situations, like first of all the plans going up in smoke, and the other thing, the economic turmoil that's going to happen, right? You have to take some hard decisions. Probably hiring freezing is definitely something a lot of businesses are doing, but some
Yeah.
also have to unfortunately lay off, or maybe reduce the salaries, or do things of that nature which they wouldn't want to or like to, but it's the need of the hour. So these two primary concerns, how do you think business owners or entrepreneurs should deal with?
Yeah, I think the way the situation is going currently, there's a lot of news that comes in, and there's a lot of alternate news that keeps coming in, alternate information that, if, for example, somebody would say, hey, the lockdown will get over till, say, May end, and life will resume in June. But, none of us really know. And this is like a domestic situation. Then we have an entire world ecosystem, which is going to take time to heal. I mean, considering the situation in US, I mean, everybody collectively, everybody's life is at halt. So I'll just give an example to address the first situation when you say that, even with my program, how I'm trying to deal with it is that it's very important, like for us as entrepreneurs, I'm a social entrepreneur though. It has to be a very problem solution approach. I think that is one key thing, and one key skill set that we get hardwired with, and I mean, it's a must for an entrepreneur to just come up with solutions as per their ecosystem of work. So for example, like how I'm looking at, I spoke to everyone about how my school project has been like the dream project, and it was the only way forward, or the only way forward in the sense it was our prime focus this year and it's taken us time. So I am looking at creating a digital platform. I have 2 months to turn it around. I'm also in touch with the school and I'm trying to figure out if we can establish a digital ecosystem for at least teachers, which can go ahead and move forward and address it with students. I am also okay. So like a year program has about 5 modules, so I'm okay letting go of one module. And that's a thing that I might have to do. And if I can do it when extend the program in the long run, right? So these are some real time solutions that I'm trying to map. So what I would also suggest is map your real time solutions. What is that you can do, right, to continue sustaining your program, or maybe quit that program. It's okay to take off certain things for a year, off your plate. Like I am also considering that. I was planning to do 10 to 15 things. I am considering, I'm coming to terms with that I might have to let go of some of them. And I'm building like a best case scenario and a worst case scenario and a middle case scenario. So I think we will have to process it and work towards it in a phase wise and a scenario mapping kind of an approach. So you can have your, okay, hey, the lockdown gets over in May and June slowly starts opening up, July life will resume. That could be your first scenario. Then you can move to a second scenario. When life resumes, it may be August or September. And the worst case scenario, okay, what if this entire year we're going to be home? It's not going to happen, I'm just kidding, but I'm just giving an example. Or maybe you could look at, okay, September, October, life will resume. So we could look into something like that. I have another element at my work, which is workshop, where initially I thought, okay, let me just build the ecosystem and let me just populate awareness, because it's something that we launched early this year only, and it doesn't really have like a huge name. So we started thinking that how to build a community that would be open to access this information around emotional well-being. We ended up building a community on Telegram. We are building a community on Instagram, right? We are now starting off with a paid workshop so that small chunks of revenue can come in, right? So it's how you know your workspace better than nobody else, right? So you have to figure it out and navigate how certain aspects can be digitalized and commercialized. And how second could be that, okay, maybe these are the things which are of prime importance and which cannot stop and need to continue this year. These are the things maybe I will have to push back and do it next year, or maybe drop off. And the feeling to what you're going through, a lot of acceptance has to come in terms of letting go, because these are some of your plans which you've been working for a long time. It could be short term, but you really wanted to do it, you are extremely passionate about it, and you were really looking forward to it, has come to a halt. So here comes the whole mental health situation, where you have to be okay with it and accept it, because trust me, it's not in your control. What you can do is maybe do an exercise, do a circle exercise where you look at, okay, these are the things I can control, these are the things I cannot control, right? So you could map and do a systematic approach to address your top 5 concerns. Yeah, so I would like to answer one part of the question like that. Secondly, I think it's very important to do, like I said, scenario mapping, phase wise planning is a different situation. You will also might have to do a financial planning, right? So it's very, very important to check in what cash flow you currently have. And if you have a rock solid team who's okay, waiting, like I'm hearing people, a friend of mine who's also part of the NGO, his salary is going to come after when the lockdown situation ends, and he's come to terms with it. He's like, okay, at least I have a job security and it's going to come in future, but not right now. So he's trying to be okay with the situation, but he has a job guarantee and he knows that his company is going to turn around. So if you have that kind of relationship, with your team members, and you have a rock solid team, and you can assure them, okay, I'm going to turn it around, give me some time, because this is a situation I can't really do anything about it. If you're in an absolute worst case scenario situation, maybe you could look at letting go of people. I mean, you will have to do it. I mean, there's no way out, and you don't have to feel any guilt about it, because it's a situation that you can also do. You can also stretch to a certain extent, and you can't do much beyond that, right? So a lot of companies might start doing that. I'm seeing people taking percentage cut per month, and the workload is also being reduced. So there are multiple strategies that are coming up. So you will have to do like a cash flow position, what is your cash flow position, how much is that you can afford, do you need, yes, freeze your hiring if you're in a very tight position. I mean, it's not financially and a very positive decision to get more people on. If you're a digital company or a tech company where you can multiply your business, that's a different situation, but I don't think so otherwise it's possible. And I think it's okay, you got to accept and be okay. And I'm sure your employee might also feel very, very heartbroken, but there's nothing that you can do about the situation. So I think it's okay. So like I said, phase wise planning, scenario planning, it's very, very important. Have a best case, middle ground, and a worst case scenario as per your business. Check in your cash flow position and make sure that you're doing a bit of financial planning on how you want to go ahead with the entire year. You can plug in your phase wise planning there as well. Like I have also paused and I've asked my team members to, like, I would need about 2 to 3 months to look at the situation, and I really can't do anything about it, but I want you guys to be there and I will figure it out, and I'm giving them my word. But my relationship with them is like they would trust me that yeah, Juhi might turn it around and we can do something about it. And we are there, that because I'm absorbing my own team people as people on payroll. So my situation is a little different here. But yeah, and thirdly, I would say that please take care of your mental health. You want to reach out for support. And I've done a check-in therapy once because I was feeling extremely overwhelmed, and I run an organization which advocates about EA, and it's completely fine because there's so much. I personally, as it is, feel that entrepreneurs are always at the end of going through burnout. It's so difficult for all of us in whatever space we are working. So it's very, very important that you continue to take care of yourself. I mean, I advocate about this even without COVID-19 situation, but I think right now it's just so much more for all of us to take care of ourselves. And there should be no, like, zero hesitation around taking and approaching somebody who can extend support and help you with your mental health.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope I answered everything.
Yeah, you did. So very helpful tools, I think, the ones that you've suggested, taking stock of like your cash flow position, the best case, middle case, worst case scenarios, working in phases, and definitely especially taking care of your mental health. So I think after the session, maybe I will share with the participants your contact details. You are there available on all the social media platforms, that's for sure. They can reach out to you for resources as well. Yeah. So definitely I think very good tools that are suggested by you. And it's very important for entrepreneurs to, like you said, the problem solution approach. So I think even like this webinar is kind of a way for me as the founder of a digital marketing agency to connect with other business owners. But I too came upon it like after a few weeks and of mulling over what to do next and what's going to happen. Although this
that's
is
fine.
Yeah, although this is again not completely within the zone of what we do, but something that we thought as a community we should be contributing, because we are in touch with a lot of business owners, and we know that listening to someone from your own industry helps a lot. So this webinar, especially, obviously it is for all business owners, but for people running NGOs, especially in non-tech NGO space, I'm sure very specific tips and what actions you did will be very helpful for them to kind of understand how to cope with their own situations, right? So that was the idea behind this. So we are also trying to do that. And we'll also try to advocate more the use of the other tools that you have suggested here to our other participants and to other people who approach us, right? So before that, again, like just about the NGO, people who are running NGO or maybe even working in NGOs, mostly in offline sort of models, in education space or in other space, which cannot be completely done by digital, in the digital domain. What do you suggest, like suggestions or tips just for them to deal with this today and in the near future? If you can share a few tips around that.
Okay, I would suggest that looking at technology-based NGOs would be a good idea right now, because I feel education is also an essential, which will not stop. And even schools are figuring it out. And I'm sure even these new organizations are also, I think, going to come forward to look at funding tech-based organizations. And I see everything being stitched around COVID-19. And, if organization is coming up with the COVID-19 solution, so you might want to join that organization. I also feel if you're at home and I mean, unfortunately, the worst case scenario, if you get to sit at home, I think it would be a good time to equip yourself with some skill set and not feel very, out of the race kind of a thing. So you could also equip yourself with the skill set you've been wanting to work on, which can help an NGO. And you should definitely look at tech based NGOs, which would be a good opportunity for you, because governments are also going to reach out to these NGOs. I'm already seeing it happening, and government will be in a position to fund them, so there will be some fund kitty coming in. And I think that would be the way forward. If you look at NGOs which are a tech based or are working around COVID relief, I think if you're extremely passionate about working in that space, or want to continue, and somewhere you think your job situation currently is in a very hunky dory state, so I think those would be 2-3 areas where you can look. So because an organization like me, it might not be very helpful, who's on ground and is now thinking about, I've always been thinking about getting into tech, but it's like that was our plan for next year, but I'm looking at preponing that plan, because you have to come up with solutions on real time basis. So I think tech companies, where tech NGOs, where you can look for a potential opening. And all these, like Give India has a, job opening, because they've come up with this wonderful platform like Milap and Ketos. They are also hiring. So there are organizations which are hiring, which they're scaling up in a different direction because of the current situation and demand. So those must be, you should research on those kind of firms and NGOs where you can grab an opportunity and get out of this nonsense COVID-19 situation. Yeah, I have
So
a question.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you can answer that now.
Hi, Juhi. Do you reckon the lockdown, the impact on the economy is to impact the NGO space? Yes, it will. How do you think NGOs can work towards a semi-self-sustained approach to prevent unforeseen impact? So, I was attending this webinar, and I would also recommend people to attend webinars, by these social entrepreneurship grant organizations or funding organizations, because it's turning out to be a little better. Still, it's not something very concrete. It's in the ever-changing mode, right? So I think how I am approaching is this, that every NGO has had established some relationship with certain organizations and people. So what I am also thinking is to back up on that. I am also planning to get a consultancy agency on board, who I have been talking to for a while, and sit with them and figure out how to go about our current funding situation. But it's something I can't really answer in a very concrete way, because it's still in a very gray area space. I've been reaching out to grants and funds. So one organization is ready and okay with that, yeah, this program is going to go on, but we don't know when we will release the fund, and when will the program run, right? I have another grant organization which has not released their application, which was supposed to release their application, right? So everybody in the ecosystem is trying to figure it out, and it's not really in our control. So it is a very real time situation that you have to adapt yourself to. So you can look at some grants, maybe go all, put in all your research resources and map all such grants. And you can also look at getting small funds, not large funds. So an organization might be open to give you a smaller fund rather than an entire chunk of fund which was expected out of that. So from that, you can look at and fill small boxes of your funding. And you could also, if you are working on community and you have workers from the community who are a part of your program, like I'm planning to raise funds for my community champions as a stipend, because they're working very hard, and they deserve to get that stipend, because at the end of the day, my life situation and their life situation is different. So it has to be very real time. But yeah, you can look at grants, you can look and established connection with your connections in the organizations that you've been a part and you've been in touch of. You can also reach out to your donors and ask for them to help you with your situation if you have a huge base of donors. And CSR funding, I also feel right now is COVID, but it's going to, because they are also going to realize our situation. And I'm hoping and I'm planning to write to few organizations that this needs to be addressed, because otherwise, people like us who are working on very important things too might just burn out and would have nothing to sustain ourselves. So I hope that things change, because people will have to pay attention on elements like these as well.
Okay, so we have a participant, Punita. She wants to ask a question, I think.
Go
Punita,
ahead.
can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, I'm not able to type for some reason. That's why I'm asking it here.
No problem. Tell me.
Yeah, I think you partially answered the question. My question was around the CSR fundings, and if do you think in the near future, not now, because obviously PM Cares is a sentiment more than a fund right now.
Yeah.
Near future, do you think NGOs will get into a collective and address the issue of CSR funding, because that's the only way to sustain? And
I hope that I hope, yeah. Have you completed
yeah, I
the
mean, do you
question?
see that happening? Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that will eventually happen and somebody will start that collective community. I think, attending a webinar by People's founder. Her name is, I think, Kruti. So she's already thinking about doing that. I'm planning to write her about the same concern because I feel right now, yes, very rightly put by you that it's a sentiment that is happening, but I don't think so. And I see so much fund coming in for COVID. I don't see PM Care Fund being utilized anywhere. Not that I'm trying to question his authenticity, but I am working on ground and I'm doing the relief work and I don't see it happening, with all due regard to whatever the political scenario and the government situation is. But we also need funds to survive, and I'm sure there are going to be organizations which will start releasing. You should also look up if you're in the education space. So there is an HCL grant that has come up. Wipro has come up. So first focus is yes on relief, but slowly they would also start moving on to like education funds, because learning also has to continue and we don't know how long the situation is going to be. So I did end up reading on HCL that they are open to giving a grant. So idea is also to hunt down such organizations and be very proactive in terms of your research right now to what all information is coming in the NGO space, and slowly I feel it will start opening up. And it would be very unfortunate if this conversation doesn't happen at all. And you have to fall back on your organizations which you've been receiving funding from, and maybe take a certain percentage and raise smaller funds to meet your goals. I mean, that's an approach that I am trying to figure out.
Is your question answered, Punita?
Yeah, so Krutika, you can look at people. I'm planning to write a mail. I think you should also go ahead and talk about it and write it and exercise, like maybe reach out to more communities and get people. I mean, if we start a collective, all of us can come together, add more people and address them. And what if something comes out of it? I mean, there's no harm in trying.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Punita, for that.
there's another people who will complete business degree in July 2020. What will, going to happen with them? Because I'm pursuing, I am very, very sorry, Somit, that you have to go through this. It must be really, really hard for you. But it's also something which is extremely uncertain. And I would tell you not to lose hope, because I think the job scenario is also going to change since everybody is focusing on freezing their hiring. And I think it might get a little difficult for you, but I'll say hold on. Maybe you can strategically look out for jobs, because there are going to be openings, because it's going to change the way we look at market and jobs. Also, it's also a time to maybe figure out that okay, this is the industry I would want to be in, because in the long run, if a COVID crisis comes back again, so my job is going to be secure. So I would say you can look at more digital spaces which might be open to hiring people, because their businesses are not truly getting that impacted. I have 3 friends who are in the digital space, and I mean, their lives are pretty intact in terms of the financial situation. So what you can do is maybe pause right now and think about it, and not try and control the situation too much, because it's not really in your hands. Think what are the few areas that you can work upon to make this situation better for yourself. And I am so sure that you will be able to figure it out. It's very important what you're thinking and trying to manifest for yourself in the future also. So try and invest less, like do a bit of less worrying and take proactive steps, and I'm 200% sure things going to come out. So just plan very strategically, study about industries that are going to are able to sustain themselves. Don't become a frontline worker. Just kidding. But think very strategically of what industries are going to thrive or are going to sustain them, are able to sustain themselves. And maybe you can look and apply for jobs there and be a part of network capital. Yeah, I think I see a couple of opportunities coming in there. So it's a Facebook community of 80,000 plus people, and just keep a track on that, and you never know, you might end up getting an opportunity. But I hope you do. Yes, but don't worry, things will work out.
Thanks for answering that, Juhi. I'll just
Yeah.
ask people, like, if they have any more questions, then they can just ask Juhi either on the group chat, or you can just switch on your video and ask that question. We'll just wait for like maybe few more minutes till somebody doesn't ask their question. So yeah, Juhi, I think your work is cut out for you. A lot of different kind of groups of people are looking at
Yeah.
Understanding what to do with the future and how to deal with this uncertainty. And I think that's the biggest problem of all. Living in uncertain times is not something we have grown
Yeah.
up with or
Yeah.
ever
We
practiced.
never taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm
it's
actually
like,
building a new curriculum, on these pockets of work. We've been doing a bit of need assessment, and we're building subjects and lesson plans on, how to deal with uncertainty. What is the kind of pleasant, news or information that we need to receive in our life? How to avoid unpleasant news, people, or feelings. Not avoid, like work upon them and address. So even, I mean, I feel I'm just overwhelmed with so much work because there's just so much happening. Yeah.
definitely. So I think for all the participants, Juhi is available on most of the major social media platforms. She is quite active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn as well, and you can definitely reach
Yeah.
out to her personally. And
Yeah, please do. No, not a problem.
yeah, and she's also, I think, holding workshops in the recent, like, past next few weeks. You can attend them as well. I'm sure it'll help you out. There's a question by Santosh.
Okay, there is another. Okay, hi Joey. Couple of my clients who were NGOs and were working based on grants received, but they have recently started looking for social programs and workshops for businesses. I'm also doing that. And also to work on for B2C into providing similar services. So see, we have another solution here on how you can mobilize and bring in some more funds. And I also got a new solution here. So, that's how communities come together and bring in more solutions. So I think fantastic, Santosh, for sharing that. And I think this is something I am also going to take back and look at how can I bring this in.
Yeah, thanks,
And
Santosh,
thank
for
you so
sharing
much.
that.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Santosh? Or so
Yeah,
I
he
think
was
I'll.
sharing a tip for us. Yeah.
That's really nice. Anybody else, if they have any questions, you can take the last few minutes to ask Juhi. Definitely, you can also connect with her after the session and ask your questions. Um, she can answer your questions one on one here, or you can even reach out to me and I'll connect you with her if at all you need that connection. Other than that, I think if we do not have any other questions, then Juhi, maybe you can wrap this up. After that, I'll just ask the participants for a brief feedback and like where to look out for future similar sessions that we are planning to conduct, right?
Sure. I would just like to say that it's okay, like whatever's happening. I know it's very, very overwhelming. It's very unsettling. It's really put our lives, at a halt. And there's not much that we can do right now. So I would really request people to focus on the things that they can do right. If you've been working hard for really long, if you think that okay, maybe this is the time to put my body and mind to rest because there's just so much happening, I think that is okay. If you think okay, maybe it's the time I need to work on, I've been like not in the best space, and this is the time I can work on certain elements of my life, and and work towards turning around new solutions for my business, for my personal life. It could be anything, or a new skill set, or equip yourself with something that you've been missing out on, because this is also giving us an opportunity and giving us a little extra time, in hand. And I would say just please take care of yourself in terms of your mental health. I'm a true advocate of mental health. It also has stemmed from my own life. I also experienced certain issues, and I have zero shame accepting that. And it's really empowered me in a way where I can also come and talk about it. And I personally feel after roti kapda makan, it has to be your mental health. Because if there will be no good mental health, you won't be able to thrive in any of the other directions in your life, be it your relationships, be it your professional life, even the way you sleep, so even that factor is also interconnected with mental health. So I'll say this is also the time to maybe focus on that, fix certain areas which has been pending where you never got time because we've always been just running, and I've had like a life where we are only trying to run and achieve, make money, meet goals, all of that. So maybe this is a nice reflection time as well to put some focus on your own self and work on your core, or maybe just take care of yourself. So it's okay maybe to rest and not hustle so much. So it's fine, and everything will eventually fall in place. All of us are going through a lot more. Maybe we can also look at what we are grateful about, and it will really make a shift in our perspective. And rest, you can follow our work on Light Up EI on Instagram. We've also launched an initiative called Unbottle Emotions. And yes, Millie said that I'm available on Instagram. You can reach out to me. I am not a therapist. I wanted to clarify that. A lot of people have started thinking like that. I truly believe in the power of emotional intelligence. I feel that this is a component that went missing in our childhood. It would have made us more, resilient individuals if it was part of our education system. And that's what I'm passionate about. And I want to continue doing that. Rest, I would say, stay safe, stay home, and wash your hands. Yeah.
Okay, Juhi, there is just one last question we'd like to sneak in.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Santosh has one question. Sure, Santosh, please go ahead.
Don't be guilty, Santosh. It's okay. You also need to survive. Just be, I'll say don't feel guilty, and it's okay if you're feeling that ways at the first moment, but you also need to tell yourself that you really can't do anything about the situation. This is also maybe a point that, you can establish your relationship maybe at a more personal level with them, and you can be honest about the situation to them, and you are doing this in the best way possible because you have to think about your own organization, your own life as well. So I will say that it's okay if you're feeling guilty. I can't take that away from you if you're feeling guilty in that very moment, and I'm sure you will. Even I feel very, very guilty to make my team work, and I'm not in a position right now to pay them, and I had to get them on board from July, and I still don't have a confirmation for them. But can I do something about the situation? What I can do is, right now I can't really do anything about the situation. I can't just take away the guilt and just put it in a box. So it's okay, you process it at the moment, there's no problem. And how you can process it is a different process altogether. We could also read about this particular emotion, and there is good scientific data available online. I mean, this is something that we do in our workshops also. And secondly, I'll say how to manage it better is that you can be really, really honest about the situation with them, and maybe understand their priority also if they are in extreme crisis, and maybe if you can have a window to help them. Because right now, even all of us are also saving money because a lot of our expenses we are not spending on certain aspects, in our life right now, and everybody is trying to come together and, work together to create a better environment or a less stressful environment for each other. So maybe if you could focus on those EI elements for your team, they might be more assured, and they might be more relaxed that, okay, at least he's being and showing genuine concern and being honest about the current situation. So I think maybe that is one way that you can go about it. And that is how even I am telling my team that this is A, B, C I can do, right? These are the two things that I'm not able to do it. If at all there's a certain extreme crisis situation for one of your employees and you think you can help in, I think that is one way that you can go about it, but don't feel guilty. It's fine. You can't really do anything about it. So I'll say it's okay. I'm glad that you're able to recognize that you're feeling guilty, but it's okay. One day you can experience it, but I wouldn't want you to stretch it for a week or for a month. It's okay. You can't really do about anything, and approach it in a very technical, practical way. I mean, we tend to not address emotions in that way, and maybe it's okay to address it the way you address your work life problems. You can also look at this from that sense. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much, Juhi. And thank you so much for giving your time and answering all these questions.
Welcome.
It's been really helpful. And I did get some feedback, but I will also wait for more feedback from the participants. This is, of course, the first series that we have done. We want to talk to people from more different backgrounds and different industries, so that we get
Yeah.
like more inclusive content from everybody, like, in terms of how they are dealing with it and the unique challenges that are presented to them. So please, the participants, please feel free to reach out to me, give feedback, and also I will keep you updated about the future sessions that we are planning to hold. So with that, I'll say bye. In case if you have any questions, just reach out to me on email, WhatsApp, all of the social media platforms. We are available. All right. So thank you, Juhi. I think we'll
You're
leave
welcome, and
this.
all the best for your upcoming sessions. I'm sure it's going to be very, very helpful for people coming in from different sectors, and I hope this was also helpful for people.
Yes, it definitely was. And we'll get more feedback and let you know, like, how in how other ways we can also help the participants today. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye. Take care, everyone.